today with a wonderful special guest today, Mr. Nazim Ali, who's a pharmacist. And you can call in and ask questions 01164822086, or you can WhatsApp if you are shy 077 488 How are you today, Mr. Nazim?
Zed, Assalamu alaikum. I'm well, thanks. Thank you very much. I'll just put in there, I'm a retired pharmacist. Yeah.
You're a retired pharmacist. Well, of course, I remember you from last year. You were a cancelled pharmacist, or nearly to be cancelled.
They were trying to cancel me, but they didn't manage. So, I decided I will just come off the register anyway.
I see. Well, of course, we'll go into that in a little bit more detail shortly. Just to let you know what the theme of the program is today is to discuss the current situation with a lot of killing going on everywhere, indiscriminate bombing and killing of innocent civilians in Yemen and also in Gaza, which has been ongoing for 18 months plus. Now, what are we going to do about this? We are powerless. We are all sat here collecting funds, and we are absolutely powerless for this.
I don't think we're powerless, Zed. We do have power, be it at a micro level. We may not have power at a macro level that's visible. We definitely have a micro level. I mean, look what we did recently. We elected a Labour government. How many Muslims voted for Keir Starmer?
That's another matter. Now, I think when people complain about the present government here in UK or in the USA, they deserve the kind of government that they vote in. Yes?
Absolutely.
Do you agree?
I totally agree.
And this is sad.
It's sad, but these warning signs were there from the beginning. Look, doesn't matter who you vote in, the system is rotten. It's not who sat on the chair. You can rearrange the deck chairs as much as you want. The system is rotten. The system is rotten in America. 400 million people have a choice between two parties. That's democracy, is it? And in the UK, you've got three parties or 2.5 for 65 million people.
You said that 400 million people in America. In Europe, we have almost 350 million. So the 350 million and the 400 million, we cannot say the whole country agree with the ideology and the narrative. So you have 350 plus 400 want to come together and go and do a proxy war against 140 million. Makes no sense to me.
No, but that's just the way it's been. Look, this is all the remnants of imperialism and colonialism. Nothing's changed.
Well, I do tell you something has changed. We in the UK, we say we have a special relationship with the USA. Well, let me tell you about these special relationships. In these countries, what do they have in common? USA, Europe, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. What do they all have in common? Europe including.
Well, white supremacy is something they've got in common, to be honest with you.
And also, they all have remnants of colonialism, imperialism, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. But
right.
Based on superiority.
Guys, I want you all to take on board what I'm going to say to you is that they were predominantly Europeans. Yes? Now, isn't it ironic that UK, at one point in history, they sent all their wrongdoers to Australia. They banished them there to Australia. And what did they go and do? They eliminated the natives and they took over the country. Yes? What did they do in America?
The same.
So that makes them the world's biggest immigrant population, isn't it?
Not just the world's biggest immigrant population, but the world's biggest terrorist organization that the world's ever seen.
Of course, and now indiscriminately, always in the name of national security, as they say, national security, right? But it's not national security, is it? It's more like national superiority, right? Who has got the best firepower is going to rule over those who have nothing, or those who are not allowed to have anything. This is one of the listeners, he mentioned to me. He said, how is it that the one who has nothing is taking a stand against those who are destructing Gaza at this moment in time? The one who has nothing is taking the courage, the willpower, and going forward and actually doing something, whereas the ones who have everything are saying that you can't do that. Makes absolute no sense.
When we move away from our teachings, when we move away from this is the month of the Quran, right? Okay, lots of people, especially listeners, have probably read or listened to more Quran in this month than they probably do in the whole rest of the year, right? What are we learning from it? Are we just are we just reaching out to it as a book on the mantle shelf that we just bring down and want to get some brownie points with God, so we read it? Are we actually understanding any of it? Are we applying any of it? Are we using it at a local community level? Are we using it in our families? Are we using it on a wider societal level, on an international level? Because the Quran is there for everything, not just for us to read in Ramadan and make nice qiraat and all that stuff. So once we've moved away from the fundamental teachings of the Prophet, peace be upon him, we're at loss. So don't expect anything different. As long as we are subservient to Western imperial systems, as long as we are subservient to teachings which are anti-Quran, we will always be in this position. If you look at some of the great leaders we've had in the past during the times of imperialism, be it the likes of Tipu Sultan, for example, or Muhammad Iqbal, the poet and philosopher, read their works, especially Iqbal's works. Why, we need to get familiar with those people's writings that came from the subcontinent, so that we can understand that the struggle has not changed. The struggle is still the same, exactly what you mentioned. These are a group of people who believe in imperialism, superiority, etc., etc. What was the British Raj, if anything else? It was the same.
And I'm absolutely shocked, really. I'm lost for words. In 2025, that we have to live in the 18th and 19th century ideology and narrative. We are not moving forward. We are going backwards. And our young generation cannot be the same. They cannot be the same. Our children, our grandchildren going forward have to be placed in a better world, in a better space. So everything that we do today will define a better tomorrow. So all of you listening in right now, you got to come on board. And right now, I want you to talk to me and give me your views as well. You can call us on 0116 4822 086. You are listening to Real Talk with Zed on Ramadan.fm 87.7. Please tune in. If you are not at this moment listening, you may be on the YouTube, on the Facebook, or you may just follow us on LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, Spotify, and Instagram. You see all these social media platforms that people are busy with all day long, and they forget sometimes that they have to live up to good human moral values. Is that correct?
Look, you're absolutely correct. At the end of the day, our role model is the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He's our role model. He taught us what ethical values are, moral values are, how to interact with people, how to stand up for the oppressed, how to stand up for those dispossessed. And if we're not willing to do the bare minimums, then what good are we?
It's shocking. Again, one of the listeners has sent me a text. He says, the poorest country in Yemen being bombed, innocent people, civilians being killed, and our government is sitting quiet, saying nothing.
The respected person has just texted you, look, do not expect anything different from this system. Why are we expecting some form of equality or some justice from a system that is inherently racist? It's a system which is set up against us. It's not there for the oppressed or the downtrodden person.
And another text that's just come to me. And that, yeah, Zed, you are quite correct in highlighting that there's a distinct difference between slaughter, murder, killing of innocent civilians, and to call them casualties 3 days into the war, casualties. Now, define to me, what do you understand of a casualty, Nazim?
A casualty is when you have a road accident and you end up in casualty department in a hospital. That's a
Now,
casualty.
we have a senior prominent minister in our parliament. He would refer to it as casualties. He
Yeah, well,
needs to know the definition of a casualty, right? He cannot bring himself to say murder, slaughter. He cannot bring himself to say that because
Zed, with respect, the British media, just like international media, are all complicit in this genocide. All of them.
of course,
The language,
media bias is part
yeah,
of
media
that.
bias because they are complicit in the genocide. The language they've used.
It's part of that wicked triangle where at the top lies the finance and at the bottom lies the politics, which is no longer politics anymore. It is more like politricks. And on the right side lies also media bias. Now, the man who has the finance, if he has control over media bias and he has control over the politricks, then he is inadvertently the boss. He's the one who dictates what happens, when it happens, how it happens. And this is what everybody listening in now has to fully understand, the triangle. The triangle, and many will say, they're just not allowed to have access to the truth. The truth being the enemy of injustice. That is where we are today, right? The truth is the enemy. We are living in the world of cancel culture. If you say something somebody doesn't like, you are cancelled. You lose your job, you lose your profession, and everything goes downhill for you. And right now, how many people have been cancelled due to ideology and narrative in the USA? Our best friend, our special friend, Nazim, how many people? Do you know?
Lots, and it's happening as we speak. We just had that Turkish student, PhD student, being accosted by ICE and being removed. Other people, whether they're sports people or so, they've all been told, quietly amongst yourselves, just say what you want to say, but in public, just tone it down and blah, blah, blah. That's where we're at. So what we're saying is our lives, our children, our parents are more important than those of the Palestinians. That's what we're basically saying. We are guilty of superiority complex.
Of course, we are, and we are enforcing a narrative and an ideology onto other people, prescribing what we see as the medicine upon other people, and forgetting completely the human values and the moral conduct of every human being out there, how we have to embrace each other with lots of love and preserve humanity. That's why I constantly tell the sustainability crew that what are you trying to sustain? You can't even sustain human beings, and you want to sustain carbon footprint, and you want to do so many things out there.
Just on that, Greta Thunberg, if you remember the great Greta Thunberg, the young girl who spoke out against climate change, she was being touted everywhere. She was the darling of the media. She was everything until Gaza happened, and she spoke against the genocide. She has been cancelled by many, many organizations. Excuse me. No. So somebody like that with a public platform, at least she used it. Tell me.
Today, you will need terabytes, not gigabytes. You will need terabytes to record all these biased media out there who are not helping at all, because they are also part of the triangle that I mentioned earlier on. Right. Yeah. I'll bring you to a recent case, Brother Nazim.
Yeah.
You're well aware of Sky News, yes?
Yeah.
They're international. They're in USA. They're in England, right? Now, this is the special relationship I'm going to bring to your attention that we have with the USA. This special relationship, a British reporter is told, we don't give a crap about your opinion. Why don't you go back to your country?
Yeah, I saw that.
This is a special relationship, right? One of the prominent far-right politicians in the USA, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she left the Sky News reporter speechless. She couldn't get 2 words out. And I'm sitting there listening, saying, what happened to the special relationship? This is not how you treat somebody who you have a special relationship with. Now, when will our media and our politicians go and support that Sky News reporter? Now, how dare you speak to one of our British citizens in that manner? Right?
It's not going to happen.
Of course it's not going to happen. They can sit back quietly. British citizens are being slaughtered and they say nothing, let alone a Sky News reporter being insulted in that manner. Right? I was taking a back seat to say, no, I'm shaking my head. This cannot be happening. What is happening to these people? And there's another war going on, which is called the tariff war, Nazim.
Yeah.
Are you aware of that?
I am, yeah, with the imports in America, how much they're using economics to actually push their narrative and push their agenda. Yeah, with China and Mexico and Canada and everyone.
No, not only Mexico and Canada. There is an issue here with the UK where they are imposing a 25% tariff on the cars that are produced here. Now, which is our best car that we are importing into the USA at the moment? Anybody listening in can give me your answer for that? I can give you one answer. The famous Range Rover and the Land Rover. Yes? Now, this is what they want to do. They want to put a tariff on it for 25% to raise $100 billion so that they can go and squander that money on whatever. Probably to make more weapons of mass destruction, to go and sell it to everybody else, and to keep that engine rolling, the killing machines running in the USA. Now, what is happening, I ask you all again, in 2025? What are we doing? So, message here. I forgot to mention Sudan and Congo people also being killed there. Of course, Congo. All of you who are from Africa, you know what Congo is famous for? It's famous for minerals. All these places in the world that have resource are always left in turmoil. Regime change, you have two factions in a country. They are financed and funded to go at each other so that you can keep taking the resource quietly but surely. This has been happening for 100 years and more, and it's continuing to happen now. So if you measure the killing that goes on, is the brown and a black life worth any less than a white life in the world? Let's turn it round and see what would happen if it was the other way around, Nazim.
Well, you've seen it. It happened, didn't it? Look what Trump, how he lost his head, and Elon Musk did when there were some issues in South Africa amongst the whites there.
Yeah.
You know, recently, some of the white farmers were, I mean, I don't know the exact story, but they were being, as they call it, harassed or whatever. And Elon Musk, who's also a product of that, of white supremacy, came out, and so did Donald Trump, and said, this is racism. We're not going to tolerate this. We need to give these people stays in the US and bring them to America and let them come and stay here.
Now,
that's pure racism.
We must big up the independent media. The list is also long, but it's not a terabyte. It will probably be just a megabyte, if that. The number of personalities, the number of independent journalists who are doing an excellent job, and they are calling out all these atrocities. It's in the month of Ramadan. Last 10 days, brothers and sisters, we make dua for all our brothers and sisters throughout the world who are being oppressed, who are being genocided, they are being killed. All the brothers all over the world, right? To take life is unacceptable and absolute no moral ground, right? Now, I'm going to ask you one thing. What if the Amalek was turned around the other way? Give me your thought on that.
Zed, we know what it would be like if it's done the other way. Let's look at history, okay? We are not allowed to write our history. I was brought up in England. We didn't spend any time on the British Empire. We didn't spend hardly anything on anything where whites were committing atrocities against people of other color, brown or black, for that matter. Even the slave trade was washed over. Yeah. So that's where we're at. That is the system, by the way. You're not going to change anything unless the system changes. Look at Jeremy Corbyn. He tried everything he could. What was the main issue they had with him? Was it because he was a socialist? Was it because he didn't wear a tie? Was it because he, liked to go and just chill in normal cafes everywhere? Or was it because of his stance on Palestine? What brought him down in the end? There's a stance on Palestine. This is a concept of principles. This is not about, if we put somebody else in 10 Downing Street, things will be better. They won't. Stop. People need to get out of this fallacy that the 10 Downing Street will sort this out. They won't. You can have anyone you want in 10 Downing Street. That's why they never allowed Corbyn to win. So the system will not be fair. The system will not allow justice. If we're all about justice, then this system in the United Kingdom is anti-justice. They serve a Section 14. I was at a demonstration on Sunday. We were overrunning 10, 15 minutes. Politely asked Bronze or Silver Command at the Quds demo on Sunday in London. We're running about 15 minutes over. We gave a closing time of between 5:30 and 6 o'clock. We told them between 5:30 and 6 we'd be done. They basically said, if you don't finish by 5:30, we're going to serve a Section 14 and we'll start arresting people. This is a so-called democracy. This is so-called freedom of speech. Get it out your heads. There is no freedom of speech in this country. There is limitations of speech. That's what we have. Limitations of speech. Stop calling it freedom of speech. There's no freedom whatsoever. You've not got freedom to stand together. You've got freedom to protest. You've not got freedom to have an opinion. Because, as you mentioned rightly, you'll be cancelled.
Of course, you'll be cancelled because you are working with ideology and you're working with a narrative created not by all the vote bank that voted in the present government. You're not at all. 73% in a government poll, Gov poll, had said that they do not agree at all. They are against the atrocities being committed in Palestine. Yet, our government continues to call it out as a casualty.
Zed,
We are only 3 days into the war. How ridiculous. Where has this minister been? It's 18 months, not 3 days into conflict. And in fact, I will tell you all that is 76 years since this problem started. And for 76 years, you created a problem and you have not seen peace at all in these areas at all. In this region, for 76 years, you have not seen peace.
Zed, we have a mirror right in front of us. It's called Ukraine. Okay? One bomb comes over from Russia. They don't have casualties in Ukraine. They have murdered people. People who have been killed. People have been subject to acts of terror by the Russians. The language doesn't exist when it comes to Palestine. This is a mirror for us. There's hikmah in this for us to understand what's happening. And I'm sorry, the elders in our community have got a lot to answer for. And these are the nut jobs who go around, sorry, I can't use this language in Ramadan, but go around, kissing whatever, just so they can get the MP to come to their mosque or to their community center so that they can get them to turn up to this or turn up to that. It's about time the young generation took control of their futures and told these MPs, we don't need you. We do not need you. Look at how other communities have used their power of vote over so-called MPs. Who sits, who doesn't sit, who gets elected, who doesn't get elected. When are we going to do that?
Well, actually, I must remind you that we did that in Leicester.
Tell me more. What happened in Leicester? Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Yeah, in Leicester, we were successful in overturning a 22,000 majority here, right?
And congratulations on that. But we need more of it, Zed.
And I am so proud of our MP. When he was selected, he came up on the podium and he was holding a kifaya. He says, this one is for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's great that those guys got elected. It's great that the community, organized itself. But there's too little of it, number one. Number two, unfortunately, once they do get into parliament, the system there is ineffective for them. It's not going to allow them to, but they are a voice. Don't get me wrong. I'm not belittling it. The fact that they're there, the fact that they're saying something, the fact that they're speaking truth to power is amazing. It's got to be commended.
Of course, now when we do these programs, we like them to be productive. We like to create cohesion. We like to be inclusion is our priority here all the time at Radio Ramadan. But also, in order to do that, we need to be surrounded with doers, not just talkers. We need doers who will practically get the job done. Now, you yourself, you are a doer because you went through, how many years of cancel culture did you go through?
7 years.
7 years. Just give me a brief of your journey from the start to the finish. Keep it brief because we have little time.
No, but basically I was at a demo in 2017, the Quds demo. I said some things there which were deemed to be unpalatable by the Zionist community. They then tried to do criminal investigations against me, a criminal case against me. That failed. They appealed to the Crown prosecution. That failed. They took me for private prosecution. That failed. Then they went after my professional registration as a pharmacist for 5 years. I kept that ongoing until it all concluded last year in March 2024. So that was 7 years of my name being plastered around in their papers, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 threats of this and that, all the rest of it. But, it's not about me. Look, Zed, we live at a time when there are many, many people. You talked about cohesion, yeah? There's so many Jewish people who are on the side of truth here. So many. There's so many Christian people on the side of truth. So many Hindu people on the side of truth. So many Sikhs on the side of truth. Yeah, they've seen it. They can see
that's what we like to hear, and that's what we want to promote in our city, and we want other cities to follow us. We, in the city of Leicester, want to stand out to be leading from the front so others can follow us, follow our example. So all of you young people who are listening in, come on board, regardless of your race, color, creed, culture, religion. Just one moral code of humanity to follow. This is just one example that Nazim has given us of himself, where he went through the journey of cancel culture. And we all have to be aware of that and call out all the people who are listed out there who are involved as victims of cancel culture and those who are perpetrating against them.
So, Zed, have we ever thought for 1 minute how it must feel? I mean, I was at a demo on Sunday, okay, for Palestine, Quds Day demo. We had speakers from the Jewish community there, speakers from the Christian community there, speakers from the Hindu community there, okay? The Hindus spoke against the Hindutva. The Jews who were there spoke against Zionism. The Christians who were there spoke against Christian Zionism. Do you know how difficult it is for them to do that in their communities? But they do it.
Extremely difficult. This is the first I've heard of that. We at Ramadan FM, we try to just reflect upon the 30 days of Ramadan and the essence of Ramadan, the virtues of Ramadan, and we get caught up in a little bit of a political situation in the world, but our deen is our way of life. We are not about killing anybody.
Not at all.
I must emphasize that again and again, that always we are in self-reflection to be the best that we can today. Our good actions today will be a better tomorrow. Our bad actions today will not be a better tomorrow. So the world has to come together and understand that the bad that we do today, we will suffer out of that. There will be a blowback, for sure.
Zed, let me add to that. It is because of the peace-loving Muslim community, the peace-loving Jewish community, the peace-loving Hindu community, peace-loving Christian community, peace-loving Sikh community, peace-loving people who have no faith. Is because of them. And you can see them all in these demos that are occurring every week nearly and somewhere in England, standing up for justice, standing up for humanity as one body, as one person, where color, age, gender doesn't matter. Your religion, your race doesn't matter. You're coming for a common cause of standing for humanity. Where, in which book, in which ideology is it written that it's okay to bomb children, to kill children? Where is it? To bomb hospitals? Where is it? Unfortunately, it's in this system that we have in the United Kingdom, in America, in Europe, this white supremacist system that exists, which says it's okay to murder men, women, and children who are just sheltering in tents. And you can drop bombs. And you know what? When they've not got enough bombs, we'll send them more bombs to drop and not question it.
Of course, and that is an act of being complicit when you continue to send weapons or spare parts that will assist to kill human beings. Yes? Imagine if we turn it round and it was done here in England, right? The French were doing that to us. What would happen?
Well, in World War II, I mean, this is the wrong comparison, but generally speaking, look, we in the 1980s went all the way to the Falklands to protect a group of people, British people, in the Falkland Islands. For those people who don't know, Google it. See how close it is to the United Kingdom, the Falkland Islands. It's right next to Argentina, right? We went all that way to protect a few people. You talk about double standards here. Did the Argentinians say at any point, Amalek? Did the Argentinians at any time say, we're going to kill everybody there? They technically said, we want our island back. That was the dispute. It was a land dispute. Island back, yeah?
So earlier on you said that how we are interacting here. I have very close, good Jewish friends, and they are incensed and they are apologetic. And they said that they're shaking their heads. Absolutely. And they are sharing with me their views to say that all this is going to make it worse for us tomorrow. Because when the blowback starts, and they tell me, they said, look, another century we're going to endure of pain just for being Jewish. And they come and share their thoughts to say that what's happening will be a blowback to us in Europe. Well, and of course they are worried. They're worried. These people in that region, whether they're Palestinian or whether they're from Israel, they're all Semites. They're all Semites. And you can see young Jewish community in America, most of them are pro-Palestine. It's the right-wing Christians who are the major donor to Israel, which is an interesting point. Yes?
Yeah, well, they're the Christian Zionists. Let's not.
Yeah. Now, let me reiterate again. A Zionist cannot be. It's not biblical that a Zionist is only from Israel. You can have a Muslim Zionist.
You do. You have them. Yes, absolutely.
Yes? And you can have Zionism is an ideology. It's not a religion.
It's not a religion. It's an ideology. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's an ideology, and it creates its own narrative. Yes, and the people who support it, they have a vision, they have a narrative, and that narrative, unfortunately, is kill one over another. It's all about land grab, resource grab, and ultimately, they'll end up going up against each other, right? So, one of the listeners has mentioned there's a 25% tariff on cars made in the UK, 25%. Again, he's reiterate that what I mentioned earlier on, right? So, I don't know where we are going with this special relationship, Nazim.
It's a special, well, it's obviously going to a special place.
Yep. I don't know where it's going. Now, you can see all of Europe is being turned upside down. One of the American vice presidents and all his cohorts, they seem to have they seem to have a bee in a bonnet with Europe. They're saying, sort yourselves out. Don't rely on us for defense, right? You spend your own money for your own defense. It is going pear-shaped. Globalization is going pear-shaped. It's turned upside down. The whole idea of globalization, reality was you had technology, you had innovation in the West, which was being produced in the East for cheap labor. Call it slave labor. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Are we on point with that? Everybody on point with that? Okay. So if you have anything to say on that, you can call us on 0116 4822 or you can send us a WhatsApp on 077 488 55055. You're listening to Real Talk with Zed, with our special guest today, Nazim Ali, who is very active in the community, trying to do his best to create change for the better, to create better tomorrow. Nazim. So we go back to globalization. It's all turned upside down because the East have become very, very strong. They're not just producing cheap goods now, they're producing cost-effective, better quality of goods. And what does the West do? They start banning them. Yes? They want to eat the cake, they want to eat it all themselves. So how long before they want to ban TikTok in Europe?
Well, you saw what Trump said. He said we could reduce the tariffs potentially on China if they let us buy TikTok for America.
Well, then they can control the narrative. So having these media channels, so social media channels, right? If you control the narrative with them, then you can pump out what you want to pump out, how you're going to manipulate, how you're going to brainwash. And
you know what the best example of that is, Zed? The best example of that is the BBC.
Yes.
Government funded, in fact, taxpayer funded by us. We have no control on what's being done. They have all control, and they decide what we hear, what we don't. They're the ones whitewashing a genocide. They're the ones not calling it a genocide. They're the ones that are calling it casualties. They're the ones that are calling it, person targeted.
Of course, you will recall only a few weeks back, they took down from BBC iPlayer the film by Yusuf Hamash. Right? Those of you who don't know Yusuf Hamash, I suggest you Google him. He was a brilliant filmmaker, young, exciting filmmaker who depicted a whole situation there in Gaza. And his film has picked up more viewings outside of the BBC. So the BBC is not the beat and all for passing out information in film. They were under the cosh, under pressure, and they all sat down together. And the average age who was making decisions there, I would say, is about 65 to 75 years old, who are just playing along with the narrative which they're being told to adhere to.
So let's not let them off like that, Zed. Let's not let them off like that. The Director General of the BBC is a lot younger than that. The BBC is inherently guilty of being part of this media circus.
Of course, media bias, do you think they would come at top 5 in the country?
Oh, the top 2.
Top 2.
The United Kingdom, you've either got Murdoch with Sky
Now,
News.
guys, here's my exciting subject now coming up. Now we only got 5 minutes left. We are talking about the future, how to make it better. And I, for one, will say that I will rely on a decision made based on human values by AI to replace all these bodies of media. Right? Media bias, you can only stop it with very well programmed AI, which is based upon principles, not upon ideology and narrative, but the principle of humanity comes first, right? Preservation of human beings. If you value human life, we are at 8 billion now. We have 1 billion who are standing up and they are doing wrong. But amongst the 1 billion, there is only 352 million who are actually doing wrong. You cannot say that all the people in Europe, all the people in USA are party to wrongdoing. Amongst them is 70% who said no. But as it is, you mentioned earlier on, the system is totally biased.
But Zed, we've got to get beyond saying just no. We've got to start boycotting. We've got to start, highlighting every individual responsibilities to do something within the law of the country you're in. That's the important part.
So the councillors are caught up in a vote bank issue. The MPs are caught up with the vote bank issue. Yet, if 73% are not being listened to, in essence, there is no point in having a government, is there? Right.
This is the sham of the system we have. You see, they dangle this carrot every 5 years. Oh, you get involved, democracy, pick your new leader. It's rubbish.
Well, throughout the world, you only ever see a two-horse race. Number 3 and number 4 are just there filling the numbers. You have 650 MPs, and if you count the number of MPs from the various parties in the UK, we have the Green Party, the Independent Party, we have the Lib Dems, we have the Conservatives, you have the Labour, and we have the Reform Party, right? So if you break it all down, you really end up always with a two-horse race. Yes?
Absolutely.
And it's the same in America. You have the Republicans and the Democrats.
It's worse in America.
But both parties are controlled with the same ideology and the same narrative at the top.
But I'm telling you, the system is at fault. Look, we will do better by reaching out to our neighbors, regardless of what religion they belong to. We will do better by reaching out to our friends, regardless of what religion they belong to. Reaching out to our communities at large, regardless of what colors of the spectrum of people there are in those communities, and build networks of humanitarian and of love and peace and tranquility. And you know what? Naturally, it will come up to oppose what's going on in Palestine. Naturally, it will come up to oppose what's going on in Congo or Sudan or anywhere else. It will be a natural human thing not to want to see suffering.
What we're saying in this month of Ramadan, we got a couple of days left only, that we need to step forward. We don't need to just be talking. We need to come here, make a difference. Each and every one of us, Allah has gifted us with ability to make a difference to another. That is what our humanity is all about, and this is the essence of Ramadan, the self-realization, self-reflection, to bring the best out of everybody, Nazim. Yes?
We need to join groups, we need to join organizations, we need to be part of the movement for justice and peace. Because in that movement, there are Muslim people, Christian people, Jewish people, Hindu people, Sikh people in that movement.
And we need to break the chains of division that are amongst us, in our communities, in our civic engagement, everywhere. Division is always ruling the roost, that the only way to rule is to divide people amongst caste, color, creed, or even divide them amongst red, blue, and yellow.
Yes, and they will do this because this is an old British tactic, divide and rule. They will come to you as soon as they see that you are standing up for truth and justice. They will try to pacify you. They'll try to take off the edge. They'll try and tell you, oh, blah, blah, blah. Let's invite you for this. Let's invite you for that. Do not be taken in by it. You don't need an OBE. You don't need an MBE. You don't need any of that. What we need is to stand up with the truth, al-haq, the truth. That's what we have to, that's what we're going to be accountable for when we die. Did you stand up for the truth? Yes or no? Whether it's in our homes, whether it's in our society, or whether it's in the world at large. Did we stand on the right side of truth? Because God is just, and justice is what we must be willing to be cancelled for.
Right, my brothers and sisters, we're coming to the end of the program. We've got 40 seconds to go. Brother Nazim, thank you very much for coming today.
Thanks, Zed, for having me. Appreciate it. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
We both get a little bit passionate about the subjects that we talk about. We mean well. We want the best for everybody. We want everybody to come together and make a difference. All of us together can build a mountain. Very strong. Good foundations, good strong foundations. So if you all appreciate that we are all one. One Leicester is the theme that we are following this year in Leicester. Thank you very much, Nazim.
Thank you.
We shall be in touch, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you very much. We shall be in touch very soon on Radio Ramadan 87.7. Thank you.